Welcome to another LNO Fireside Chat. Today we are going to be chatting with Mary Moore. I'll be co-hosting. My name's Amanda Dennis, and I am from the Tesseract team.
I'm Jackson, one of your other co-hosts today, and I'm at Tesseract LNO. I'm at Dyess Air Force Base.
Mary, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, where you work, and what you do.
Hi, I'm Mary Lou Moore. Thank you so much for having me here today. Super excited to be with everyone. I am currently at AFMC CDX office. We are a very unique office that has 3 cells that work collaboratively into the 3 elements, which is the mission enhancement cell that really focuses on the human-centered approach to implementing change. My office, specifically the CI2, is continuous improvement innovation. The focus is on green belts, black belts training, also incorporating some of the agile design thinking, understanding that there's other ways to improve and innovate. We also have the grassroots innovation, the Spark Tank campaign for MatchCom. And then we have another very unique cell that works on the acceleration of the innovation piece, which is the expertise and acquisition. My background has really been overall change management. I am prior service. I was enlisted for 10 years between the active duty reserve guard time. And then I also have my civilian service that I have up to now serving as a chief over improvement innovation.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your service and everything that you're doing. Yeah. So a hot topic this week has been AFA and how we are going to move forward, right? General Alvin said that the Air Force is built for a previous era and it's no longer optimized for the current strategic landscape. He said that change isn't an option, but a must, a necessity. We need to adapt to effectively demonstrate our readiness and capability to deter and prevail if conflict did occur. It was highlighted repeatedly for the need to re-optimize for the great power competition. How do you plan to navigate the innovation and process improvement field in support of this?
So right now we're still in work and creating a change management strategy for tackling some of the things that are to come. I in my opinion, based on my experience, what I've observed, right now it's great power competition. 5 years ago, it may have been something different. 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was something different. Change is, it's inevitable. But how we tackle change and making sure that we are focused on the people element is what I believe helps you identify whether you're going to be successful or not. And so one of the things that I've always been really passionate about is the people element. Our airmen are our guardians. And so that's the really unique thing about our office and what we're able to do with our installation visits and being able to cross-collaborate with so many people across our MatchCom. Building relationships with our A1 community, all the functionals, and being able to have that reach outside of our MatchCom as well to make sure that we're looking at the people element and inviting people outside of our office to cross-collaborate and share those other responsibilities that may belong in other areas to be able to create a solution to the problem on how we're going to impact that change. So I'm very passionate about change management. That's why I've stayed in continuous improvement for 14 years now. The really amazing thing about what we are looking at doing is the missing piece has always been the focus to the human-centered design, that people element. And, everything we do, how we execute our mission, the decisions that are being made are all going to be implemented by our people. And so being able to understand, what are those behaviors, those desired behaviors that we're looking for? Do we understand that there's going to be some level of resistance of change? Do we understand what those resistance to changes will be? How are we looking at those? Who is looking at those? And how are we extracting all this information to provide what I consider that big view from a MatchCom's perspective, so our leaders can make decisions on what other things may need to be considered. I think, looking at it from a people process and what are the resources that our people need is extremely important to keep in mind. That is my focus. I can't speak for others, but I know that our office and with our leadership, we are a very focused, human-centered designed office. And that's what makes us so unique and how our synergy works together, because we do understand that.
That's awesome. You mentioned human-centered design approach. Are you able to dive into that a little bit more and what that means?
I can give you some examples, some elements. Again, it's still in work. It's definitely something that could use some modification. However, I think it's a good approach. An example is when we're proposing a change, we may look at a manpower element. That is one key indicator, right? There may be a process element to understand, are these processes effective? Efficient is good, but what we're looking at from my perspective is in GPC is, are these processes effective, right? And so being able to utilize and capitalize on some of the tools that are available to us, we have learned through a couple of responsibilities that have been handed to our office that there's a lot of Microsoft Office tools that are not being utilized to the full potential. And so sometimes we tend to look outside before looking inside to what are the tools that are available that can help us, be more effective in our business operations. So that may be another element. The one thing that I mentioned about, resistant to change, that should be a consideration. And just really being able to understand, what are all those factors that may impact a person as we're going through change? Location, are they going to have to relocate? That may be a reason. We've already talked about the processes. What are the systems that they're utilizing that may require additional training because they may not be aware of the new system that needs to be incorporated. So those things need to be considered. And then also, big thing is, are these new job roles that may need to be introduced into their work area? So all these things are considerations to also include, a reporting structure if that is the decision for the change. But the biggest piece that surrounds all these examples that I've just given is, how is it going to impact that person? And when we're looking at, retention, and where we're looking at making sure that we continue to acquire the talent and, make them feel that they're valued, those values that, understanding what they value most, and then them understanding what we value as an organization as well. And having a human-centered design focus in the middle of it allows people to understand that our people are our most critical asset. And I think that's what makes it very unique.
Yeah, that's great. I want to touch on everything we have that we don't know that's available to us. For some people don't know that, this fiscal year, we've got access to Power Automate, Power BI, everything like that. Can you touch on that just a little bit? Just kind of give examples of what you've seen built. If you have seen anything built with those things that can really improve processes, give back wasted time.
So being built, I will tell you that, the Mission Enhancement Cell is in our office, has been designated as a focal point for some of the Microsoft Office tools and other, that are currently available. And we've been working with within our network with an AFMC to understand what are people utilizing, where are the gaps, what are some other things that are being utilized that we need to go ahead and capitalize on. And what we've learned through that process is, and this is not my area of expertise, but this is what we all cross share. And what we've learned from that is that many people don't even know that the Power Apps is even available. Something as simple as that. I will tell you that that what I've learned is the people that are capitalizing on utilizing Power Apps are very successful. And so what we're trying to do is provide them a platform either through our CDX newsletter or through other platforms to allow people to see the possibilities of just utilizing that. The one person I would highlight, or office that I would highlight, is at Hill Air Force Base. They have created an amazing tool. These are just airmen just really trying to modernize the records management. And they took something that maybe other people may have seen as, I don't want to even touch that, but they utilized the Power Apps tool to create a lot of automation, be able to create training, to just streamline that process. And it has made it up all the way up to our MAGCOM for implementation. And they've even took it further without even our help and went up to Air Force and went up to a NARA level and displayed the capability available. And it's just simply amazing what one person can come up with, what a team of people can come up with when they start cross-sharing the capabilities that are available. So I would say that's one example of a capability that was available to us. People may not have been aware of it, but once you start sharing that, the possibilities, there are so many options available for multiple people to use. The other thing I did want to mention is Robins Air Force Base stood up a automation working group in collaboration. And this has been a model that we are looking at exploring to expand out and hopefully build off of that, where someone can bring a problem statement to this automation working group. And this is all, people coming together to solve a problem, and they create automation solutions for that requester. And it's just really great to be able to leverage, and be able to see what people are coming up with once they know. First, they have to have knowledge that the tools are out there, right? We have to express, support the people that are taking initiatives to do things better, to accelerate, the business operations in the right direction, understanding why do we have a demand signal to make it better, and then what other things does it start to integrate, or should it integrate with? And I think that this is a knowledge base that our office is able to start teaching and being able to help them better understand how, important it is to cross-share every opportunity, share the goodness. And I think that's something our office is able to do. Once, we in our sensing sessions that we have, our visits, sometimes it's people reaching out to us through our SharePoint side or an email. We understand that there's different methods that we or inputs that we receive, and we accept them. And then how can we support to continue to cross-pollinate and inspire change?
Awesome. So I had a question. Can anybody contact you, or do they have to be within AFMC? Just anybody that has a question related to anything about your newsletter or anything you just talked about, are they able to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. I am, open to any conversation. I have a lot of customers that reach out to me DoD wide. There's a lot of projects that I work with, cross-functional. Anyone is able to contact me or anyone in our office. I'm happy to share that information with you all for, this messaging or any other message. I'm on the global Mary Lou, Mary_Lou.Moore at us.af.mil. I'm also on LinkedIn, so please connect with me. I'm happy to take in any ideas how we can make things better. Overall, I am here to serve you. I'm here to serve our airmen. I'm here to be a voice for you. So there are things that I may not be aware of, but if you bring it to me, I'm happy to see what I can do to advocate.
For the listeners, if you're interested in learning more about Power BI, DAF 365, Power Apps, there's open Teams channels just for these. People will collaborate on there. You can ask questions. People will showcase what they've built. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I highly suggest you join Teams, check those out, and get creating, make those processes better.
100%. So we're already connected to some of those networks, and we've actually broadcasted that through our CDX newsletter, and we've seen a great turnout. I think that we reached several thousands that actually viewed our newsletter in the last 2-3 months. So just being able to consider, just what kind of outlets people are actually using to get their information. I think that as much as we can share it multiple ways, I think that it's great. So thank you for offering that as well. And, we just need to continue to share the message that there's stuff out there and there's training available that is free. So take advantage of it.
Definitely. And those are resources that often go unused, but hopefully we can get the word out there. I had a question about what are some of the organizations that you guys work with?
Overall, so I think we're very well connected. So we are aligned. Our CI2 office is aligned to AFMC. So we have a lot of cross collaboration there, to include the master process officers across the Air Force. So there is not a MAGCOM that we don't work with. There's a lot of, we meet once or twice a year, all the master process officers from the entire Air Force. And so there's a lot of cross collaboration there. And we have close relationships with someone in our office, close relationships with Morpheus. There's been a lot of conversation, a lot of thought process about the SEI codes that they created and how can we use those. I know it's definitely something that we want to explore in the future, and just figure out how can we better utilize that as an opportunity. AppWorks definitely has always been something that we've been involved. I've been, and then whatever else it branches out with. Of course, Tezzeret, I've brought you guys in for a couple of things, and I love that we have such great collaboration, and I'm happy that I'm able to just, click a button and, hey, did you know about this? Or, hey, can I share this with you? And so that's just to name a few. I may have missed some, I don't know, but I know we also have initiatives that we're working on with other cross agencies, Navy, MASIC, have a close relationship with MASIC and NSIC as well. They're here at Wright-Patt. And then definitely all our centers within our MAGCOM.
That's awesome. It just shows the importance of networking and, connecting across so many different fields to make things happen, because it all goes back to our airmen and all of these resources, these tools that we gather when an airman comes to us with a problem or with a solution that they need help to get to the point of scaling or making sustainable. We're able to help them with these resources.
Absolutely. There's one thing I could add that I really think that in the past, we really thought of, process improvement, CPI, AFSO 21 as this lengthy process. And I think that, change is forcing us to do things differently. And one thing that we've recognized is that there's multiple ways to improve, and just being able to help with that and create a framework that is very simple that anyone can apply. I think it's really great, what organizations such as Air Force Sustainment Center, they've used a version of TOC. We see other organizations that are applying agile. We see some people that, apply lean methodologies, and that's okay. I think, being able to understand that there's multiple ways to improve, and then how are we leveraging the the expertise. We have within our 6 centers, we have center process managers that are a belly button for us to communicate and not just the messaging piece, but how we're going to implement change. And then we have wave process managers at the installation level that are kind of that integrator, that connector between the improvement and the innovation. And there's still some, like any new thing, there's still some barriers, there's still some hiccups, but these are your people that have been designated, appointed by an appointment letter, by their leaders, as a trusted agent to help implement some of the changes. Now, they're not always that innovation person. They're not always that transformation office, but there are people within the organizations in AFMC and other MatchComs as well, that have that structure where they should be a person that you should be reaching out, because they may have other skill sets that you could utilize to further help you with those changes.
So I wouldn't ask you a question about what are some current challenges that you guys are facing?
I think the current challenges, as CI2, I can only speak for CI2. I believe that some of the current challenges that we're facing is, I would say from I hate to say AFI because we know that sometimes, there's a lot of bureaucracy in AFI, but we do have an AFI 38401 and 402 that speaks to it. And, and they are making some modifications to that. It's in work. However, I do think that sometimes we get so caught up in the verbiage that we forget about what was the intent for that AFI. In my opinion, the intent for the AFI back in 2016, then revised in 2019, is to create the culture. To create the culture of continuous improvement and innovation. And it's not separate. I think the challenge that we also are facing is that some people are doing really well in creating the culture. And sometimes we have those leaders that really are advocates for that change. But what happens sometimes is they leave and the culture sometimes dies off. And it's almost like, I've heard airmen, mentioned during our inspections or through our visits that, we're just, we know that this is going to die when the next commander comes in. And sometimes it kind of breaks my heart a little bit because you see things going really, really well. And so I think that's a challenge. And so how do we help leaders? And I'm saying us present them as a master process officer, a center process manager, so whoever they designate. How can we provide data to help them visualize the impact to the organization from a culture standpoint? So as things are, when you see a big dip in your innovation, there's not a lot of inputs into, vision or gain or whatever platform you're using for your innovation. Those are indicators of something. So like, what are we doing to help that out? I think that's some challenging pieces that I have observed is the old practices. Like, I think it's important to acknowledge what was the intent, understand that our current environment requires drastic changes, and then lean into the future, make more time to listen to your airmen, to understand and create a psychological safety environment where they are free to share their ideas and that we're not excluding people. And I don't think it's intentional, but sometimes, the airman basic, no stripes may have a background and some really neat stuff that you may not be aware of. So let's stop looking at what's on the sleeve, what's on the collar, and really, have conversations that allow people to really share what they can bring to the table. I think we're still challenging. There's a lot of challenges there, and I think it's going to continue to be a challenge, but I have hope. I have hope. I think that this next generation is pretty amazing. I have hope in the people that are supporting it. And, I love America. So obviously, I have hope for America and, continue to be an advocate for our airmen and guardians.
I love it. I love the energy on that. I do have a question about the green belt and black belt training. I went through and did my green belt in person, and then I did my project and everything got certified. Shortly after that, it became virtual.
Yes.
Is the plan to continue keeping it in that type of virtual environment, or are you guys ever or considering possibly going back to in person?
So that is not a Mary Lou question necessarily, but I can answer from what I know. So I think it's important to understand the context and intent why we went into a virtual environment. What we learned and is that there was a lot of inconsistency on how the training was being taught. And so obviously, if we understand variation, and I may put it, there's nothing wrong with an instructor putting their spill on, the creativeness of how they utilize the tools to teach and connect with their students. However, when there is a tool that is being taught incorrectly, then that person will learn it incorrectly, and therefore when they go and actually conduct a improvement effort, there's a lot of gaps there. And what we started to observe is that inconsistency was causing a very negative feedback from some commanders, from some people that, hey, this project failed. It completely failed. Like, we went in the wrong direction. And there could be multiple reasons why. It doesn't necessarily be that it was the facilitator, but many times we found it was the inconsistencies of how it was taught. And we found it through, there was a lot of queries that were done. There was a lot of data that was collected. And we identified that we needed to have a centralized approach to how we were teaching. So that's why the decision was made to have a standardized approach to training. What we learned is that a lot of people were not ready for that virtual training. And I say this because I am more of a hands-on. And so it was challenging for me, and I know it was challenging for some of the blue-collar environment students to be able to really understand the tools that needed to be taught. So what we challenged the instructors and the other seasoned green belts and black belts to do is take the green belt training. You can take it. I can request to form a class for, let's say, a designator area, and I have 20, 50 seats. You take 1-2 modules and we do it virtual, and then I can get a classroom together and let me teach you how you apply that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, but we close our eyes to, this is the only way we can do it. Well, yes, so you learn the skills and it's a standardized approach, but there is nothing saying that you can't pull people into a classroom and you could do it in a week or however you do it. You can do it together and let me show you how you would apply it. So that way you get the hands-on inputs. Now, will we go into a in-person setting? Right now, that has not been determined by SAFMG. They're the policy kind of enforcers to those courses. The black belt training is half virtual and half in person. And then there are some 100% virtual classes that have been done in the past because of circumstances. And so I don't have a clear answer for that. I think that we're exploring the opportunities. I would not say that SAFMG is opposed to it. I just think that they're being very mindful of how they're going to do it to make sure that we don't go back to the mistakes that we've learned from, and that would just put a negative trend onto what we're trying to accomplish. So yes, there's a possibility, but I wanted people to understand why we did it.
I love it, because the why helps connect the dots. Because like I said, I did mine in person and then I did my black belt virtually, which both were good because I was in a classroom setting with other people, and like you, I'm hands-on and I like to have the conversation. I learned so much talking to other people, and I think that's super important. And I think it's important, especially with these new green belts, to be able to have that connection with others, to learn from what their perspectives and how they would apply these tools, because everyone does it differently. We can all read the material and execute differently, or just a little bit our style, which makes a difference sometimes because it can completely change a project.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, difference between facilitation in your style and how do you apply the tools to make sure that it's done correctly and you don't miss something. So two different things, but absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing with me. I didn't know you were a black belt. So yay, that's awesome.
Yes. Jackson, do you have any other questions?
No, nothing for me.
Well, is anything else that you would like to share with the field?
I think overall, what I want to say is, yes, change is hard, and I 110% agree with that. But we can continue to do things the same way. We're not going to get a different result, right? And so, how can we use this as an opportunity instead of seeing it as a negative way or a negative thing? There's going to be a lot of commotion. I think what's important from a human-centered focus is, I think it's important to stay quiet sometimes and allow people to speak and share their ideas before we start, getting controversial about certain things. I think there's already a lot of frustration. So I'd say be very intentional about your conversations and, be compassionate with others, be patient with others, because there's going to be, anytime there's a lot of change, it's very challenging for everyone. And we have to remain united. For us at AFMC, it is one AFMC, and I do feel like it's my work family. And so I genuinely want to go in the office and contribute. And sometimes I may have a really bad day, and the only thing I can contribute may be just I smile, and that is okay. But I think just being, empathetic to others as they may be going through additional changes, make sure that you reach out to the offices that provide support to you. If you need to speak to someone, sometimes it can feel very heavy. Make sure that you're talking to someone that can get you the help that you need. And then, from a process standpoint, or innovation standpoint, there are so many opportunities to make this better. Challenge, the normal stuff. Don't be afraid to submit. If you need help and you're unsure of how to submit, send someone in our office, CDX office, an email, send me an email, and we'll find a person to help you, or I'll help you, whatever that is. But, change will be hard, but you can't do it alone. So let's make sure that we continue to work together and just be patient with each other.
I would say it's good to keep challenging the status quo. Yeah. Don't settle with the normal. Don't let your normal day be normal.
100%. I love it. I love the message that you're sending, and I hope that more people understand what the tools and the resources they have out there, and they explore them and they take advantage of them. So thank you, Mary, for joining us today. It was awesome to hear your perspective and what you guys do for our airmen.
Thank you for having me. I really hope that we can continue to have these conversations. There's still a lot of things that we're working on, not ready to, visualize, share with others. But as soon as I have something, I'm sure that we can cross-collaborate and, share the goodness and continue to have these conversations. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Any references to trademarked, copyrighted, or protected products or services, such as books, movies, or businesses, are used here for the limited purpose of education and professional development of Air Force Airmen. If you have any questions, please contact us at www.tesseract.af.mil.